The first step in installing your new diff is taking your ring gear that's bolted onto your diff here to the new differential. There's 10 14 head bolts located on the outer edge here of the ring gear and the reverse thread, so when you're taking them off, make sure that you don't turn them the wrong way. And they're torqued to approximately 70 foot-pounds, so I'm going to use an air gun to actually loosen these up. The next step after removing the 10 bolts is to actually just remove the ring gear from the diff, and it's as simply as just popping it off. The next thing you need to do after taking your ring gear off the diff is remove your stock speed gear that's located on the diff. It's a press fit, and you need to use a bearing puller to actually remove this gear. Unfortunately, you can't buy one of these new from Honda, so you're forced to take it and remove it from the actual diff. I have a 3-point bearing puller set up here, and I'm going to slowly work the speed gear off the diff. And it's simple as that. Here's the new diff we're going to be installing. It's a OBX limited slip, which is pretty much a clone of the Quaife. Not as high quality, but it still does the job. The first thing we need to do for the installation of this diff is transfer the speed ring that we took off the stock diff and transfer it to the OBX diff. So it's as simple as putting the gear on the outer edge here and then just slowly tapping it down. You'll notice at a certain point that the ring gear won't actually be able to be tapped down any further because it's machined and it physically can't go any further. At this point, we've had successfully installed the Speedo gear. The next thing we have to do is to install the diff bearings, which go on either face of the differential here. This particular transmission uses the tapered roller style bearing. There's the carrier bearings that are commonly used on B16 trannies. The best way I found to put these on is to get them set up and have a socket that's just slightly less in diameter so that you won't touch the bearing, so you can tap it on. You can use a press, but I found that on the carrier style bearings, if the socket tilts off one way or another, I can actually go into the bearing race. So I like to do it by hand, so I can see what's going on. I can stop every so often when I'm tapping it down. Now that we've installed the first roller bearing, we're going to have to flip this over and install the next one on this face. The last step to preparing the diff for the installation is to transfer the OEM ring gear to the diff. There's 10 bolt holes here. We're going to line the bolt holes up with the diff. They're all ready to go. We're using brand new Honda differential bolts. There's 10. They're the reverse thread. It's a good idea to use new ones when you install the diff because they're a fine thread and they're torqued fairly high, and the threads tend to strip when you take them out. So it's a good idea to just use new ones just in case. And as an extra fail-safe, I like to use blue Loctite. Just to give a little bit extra insurance that the bolts aren't going to loosen up inside the diff. I've installed 9 of the 10 bolts. Just for reference, take the blue Loctite, spread it on the threads, and thread the bolt down. Remember that this bolt is a reverse thread, so it's going to be opposite of what you think and how to tighten it. The next step, now all these bolts are tightened, is that we're going to put it in the vise and we're going to torque the bolts down to the proper torque spec. Now that all the bolts have had Loctite added to them and they've been threaded into the ring gear, into the diff, you need to torque them down. Their torque specs approximately 75 foot-pounds. So we're going to start off and we're going to torque the first one down here. And you're going to keep going around and do all of them.